Hello, my lovelies. Hi, let me just turn this up. Oh, just let me know that you can hear me. So let me know who you are, where you are. Just get involved. How's everybody doing? Woo! I tell you what, these Monday nights just seem to come like around so quickly. So, how y'all doing? I'm going to have a quick swig of my tea while we're waiting for some more people to come in. Good evening, good evening. You guys caught me having a cheeky Ferrero Rocher. Hey, come on, it was Mother's Day yesterday. Congratulations to all the mums. Hope you had a wonderful day. Hope you were celebrated. I hope you were spoiled rotten. And just know that you are loved, you are appreciated. And yeah, it's all about you guys. Cheers to all the mums. M for mums tonight. How are you doing? Say hello. Yes. Good evening. This is Dee Dee saying Happy Mother's Day. Hi, Julie. I did have a good Mother's Day, actually. It was nice and relaxed, nice and chilled. And yeah, me and my boy, we just had some nice dinner together. Lovely Sunday roast, as you do. And dessert was good. The dessert. Dessert was so good. Hi everybody, come in, come in, come in. Oh, this is nice. Say hello. Let me know where you are. How was your Mother's Day, Julie? How are you, Dee Dee? Are you a mum as well? Did you have a nice Mother's Day? Did you guys get spoilt rotten? It's a shame Mother's Day only happens once a year. I think we could just do with one more day. I think we could do make a weekend out of it. I think that would be the way forward. Was my daughter's 17th birthday as well. We had cream teas and dominoes. Oh my god, I haven't played dominoes for years. Wow, that's a blast from the past. Dominoes, that's a good game. Wow, who won? Dominoes is a bit of a long game though, isn't it? It takes a while to win, am I right? Maybe that's just the way my family played it. And I do remember the men in the family taking it very seriously. Yes, got lots of nice presents, but a lot of chocolates as well. There was too much chocolate. Too much chocolate. I had a family member dropped off some chocolate for me and some flowers and that. There's just too much chocolate in the house. It's just not a good look. We got more people joining us online, so please get in the chat, say hello. For me, Mish Power is all about the conversation. It's all about interaction and just seeing, your opinion, hearing from you. So get involved, let me know how you're doing. How was Mother's Day? As I said, for some of the mums that are in tonight, happy Mother's Day to you. Hope you had an epic time. Judy said that's made me laugh. Not played dominoes since I was a kid. I know, not for a long time. And then the men in my family, when they're playing, they slam the dominoes on the table. That is so dramatic. It's real showmanship. I'm having a swig of my tea. So we're just going to wait a couple more minutes for a few more people to get involved. And yeah, welcome. Please say hello and give me a wave or just say good evening. It's always lovely to hear from you and interaction. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit of an old school thing, but interaction. So please do say hello, and then we're going to just start getting into this conversation with each other. And oh, what a week it's been! It's been a heck of a week. hasn't it? I mean, we've been dealing with like the shock and all of the of Meghan and Harry, and then Piers Morgan. Let me have another swig of my tea. It's been a lot. It's been an absolute lot. And yeah, and then now, obviously the last couple of weeks we've been looking at the whole thing with Sarah Everard, which I don't know about you guys, but it's really shocked me. It's really, and I think maybe for a lot of women, myself included, it's probably triggered a lot of feelings. Auntie Claire's in the building. Hello. Hi. Welcome, welcome, welcome. But yeah, this whole week has just been so many different things. But tonight I really want to just get into a conversation about women's safety. Julie said it's upset me so much I cried. Julie, I'm with you. I'm going to join you on that. I absolutely cried. I've cried a couple of times with this whole thing, and I think what's upset you the most, would you say, Julie, about the situation? I think for me, what has really kind of triggered me is just the fact that, hi Marcia, good evening my darling. We're just talking about, all of the things that's been going on this week, but I really want to focus a little bit on the whole Sarah Everard situation. Obviously we know that she was murdered, and obviously we found out that it was a police officer, which again is a whole nother level of distress and worry for lots of people and lots of women. But I was saying that for me, a number of the women have sort of said that, it's been upsetting. Johnny says she looked such an innocent girl, sporty outdoors. I agree with you, Johnny. She looked very innocent and, again, a lovely woman. And I think the thing that was so shocking for me about this is the fact that she was just walking home. She was just on her way home, and her life was taken from her. And I think what's been very triggering for a lot of women particularly is the fact is that we don't need to go out of our way to put ourselves in dangerous situations. Like, daily normal things are dangerous for us. Daily things, i.e. walking home, can be life-changing, can be dangerous. Hey Mum, how you doing? Welcome, Mumsy. I'm having a quick swig of my tea. Mum, I got some Ferrero Rocher, so I had a cheeky Ferrero Rocher before the before the broadcast. But yeah, it's the normal things that can be so shocking and so dangerous for us. Charmaine, hello, my darling. So listen, we're talking about this whole Sarah Everard thing and the fact that, she was murdered, as we know, on her way home from visiting a friend. And I think what has triggered so many women is that maybe the memory of threatening situations that we find ourselves in through no fault of our own. Julie said it upset me about her actually being murdered, but when you think it was a policeman who you are meant to be able to trust, again, this has been something, again, I'm sure many people feel exactly the same way as you, Julie. So I wanted to get into some of the statistics, all right? So let's get into the facts, and yes, what has triggered this has been the whole thing with Sarah, but this is just, again, Sarah Everard is unfortunately one of a number of women that have been lost, that have been murdered, that have been killed in the last 12 months. I think there was something on the Houses of Parliament where one of the MPs was reading out a list of women that have been killed, have been murdered in the last 12 months. And it took 4 minutes for her to read all of the names. And you think, for 4 minutes, all she was doing was reading names of women that had been... That's a lot of names. I don't know what the number was, but that's a lot of names. So I wanted just to go through like some of the statistics, okay, that they've been putting out recently. 90% of women from the age of 18 to 24 have been sexually harassed. 80% of women have experienced sexual harassment in public. So 80% of women across the board have experienced at some point in their life sexual harassment in public. We know women being killed it's not new, it's not rare. This is not, oh my god, a one-off incident, you know. Being killed as a female is almost like it's just the furthest end of the stick. So what do I mean by that? I mean sexual harassment. My mum says you are entitled to walk down the road at any time without being attacked. Exactly, mum. So, you know, if we look at the stick, you know, we've got verbal abuse or maybe inappropriate comments from men at work, or when you're walking down the street being catcalled. You've got sexual harassment. You've got, you know, there's a whole stick, and the furthest end of the stick, you know, unfortunately, is women being killed. Says 2 women are killed by a man every week. I mean, that's really sobering to hear that 2 women every week are killed. It says in England and Wales in this last year, Auntie Claire says it was 118 women's names that were read. Exactly, Auntie Claire. 188 women were killed in this last year, right? It says female victims are more likely to know their killer. That's the other thing that is quite scary about this. Around 57% were killed by someone they know, usually a husband, boyfriend, or ex-partner. And it says women are twice as likely to become victims of stalking. Have any of you guys ever been victim of stalking? Last year was the lowest number of rape convictions ever recorded, and unfortunately, you know, it's a shame to say this, but obviously, like last year we were on lockdown for most of the year, so as much as that's great news, it's not normal circumstances, really, is it? 50% of women said that reporting sexual harassment didn't make any difference. I mean, only 5% of rapes that were reported ended up with convictions. So no wonder women don't trust or don't feel that there's any point in reporting some of these incidences that happened, because if only 5%, I mean that's 5% of rapes that were reported ended up in convictions, are we able to trust the judicial system? Are we being protected by the judicial system? Do we have any faith? Do you guys have any faith in the system? How many of you ladies feel unsafe on a daily basis? Would you mind answering that? You don't have to say why, you don't have to say who, you don't have to say where, but you can just maybe put a thumbs up in the comments, or a thumbs down if that's not your story. But how many of you guys feel unsafe on a daily basis, I wonder? Julie says, as a teenager, I put myself in a bad situation walking home on my own. My friends left me. I had 2 occasions where men approached me in cars. It was so frightening. Julie says, at night. So is this generally, Julie, at night, like travelling home, or being out? Is that it, on the way home from work? How many of you other ladies feel unsafe on a daily basis? And you know what was quite interesting? Shaman says, at night, yes. Mum said it's frightening. We are not going to tolerate this in Jesus' name. Yes, Mum. Women have to take precautions every day. And I don't know if some of you guys saw this, but I put up a post this week and I put up a picture with me holding a key in between my fingers. And in fact, it was a partner, an ex-partner of mine. He basically advised me, and he was like, Shell, if you're going to be traveling on your own, not even at night, if you're on the train, you know, sometimes you might get on the train after peak times. It might be 11 o'clock in the morning, 10:30 in the morning, and you might be one of a few people in the carriage, or sometimes even we've been, so many of us have been going out for walks in the lockdown, and where I live there's lots of beautiful woods and forests where I go walking, and I'm there with my headphones on, and sometimes you kind of do realize, oh, actually there's nobody else around, and you're kind of in the middle of these woodlands. And so this ex-partner advised me that I should always, when I'm by myself, that I should have my keys in my hand and have one of my keys like this, sort of like protruding, like this, I guess. And I think somebody else suggested a pen, so that if I'm ever approached, if I'm ever in a threatening situation or compromise, Mum said at night on a train exactly that I've got my keys here, and that I could use it as a weapon if I needed to, obviously in self-defense. And I just think it's crazy that we have to think in that way. Julie says, yes, I used to do that with my keys. And so these are just some of the precautions that women have to do on a daily basis. Again, keys between the fingers, as I've said as well, pen between the fingers. Obviously, I'm not teaching anybody, telling anyone to go and do this. I know it sounds, but I was shocked to find out there's an actual word specifically for this: misogyny, a hatred, a contempt, prejudice against women and girls. Misogyny is something that, yes, is very, 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 very real. And I guess some of these acts of violence, acts of harassment, I'm always thinking, what would I do? Exactly, Charmin. Some of these acts, again, I guess if you trace it back, maybe the roots of this is an expression of misogynistic behaviour, because unfortunately there's a lot of men that don't respect women, that look down to women. Women are there to serve, serve our needs, whatever that is. So these are just some of the precautions that women take on a daily basis. Is the threat against women happening more these days, or is it the same but being talked about more? Ladies, what do you think? Do you think that things have changed? Have things got worse? Have things got better? Do you feel that maybe, is it just because we're hearing about it more because of social media? What's your view? I mean, for me, I think sometimes maybe with age that we're more aware. When you're young, you're out there and you're out at night, and you're walking home at 3:00 in the morning because you missed the last bus. You're not thinking about that, and thank God, always look behind you, always be aware of your surroundings. Yes, you're not aware. So I don't know if it's a thing that we're hearing more about it now because of the fact of social media and Twitter and all of these great tools that we have. What do you say, ladies? Do you think things have got better, or do you think that things have got worse for women in terms of our safety? So I want to read you this list of some of the precautions that women take on a daily basis just to be safe. As we said, the keys between the fingers, walking in the middle of the road. How many of you have done that? I know I've done that. Avoiding entrances to alleyways or bushes. Making sure that your phone is on, making sure that your phone is charged. Some of us make sure we take our headphones out. I'm one of those people, I like to have something in on my ears. I like to have my music, or I might be listening to someone, a podcast or something. But I make sure that I always have one ear out, so I can still be aware of my surroundings. How many of us cross the road if we see someone coming, or a male coming towards us and it's late at night? As Mum said, checking over your shoulder. How many of you have take the long route round, because maybe the long route is maybe more well lit, or there's maybe more people that would be around possibly? And how many of you are conscious? Julie says, even in the day, I don't like it when you can feel someone right behind you. Having 3 girls, I worry about them so much. I can't imagine. I've got a boy, but I still worry about him being out there, and the safety element. And how many of you have consider how you dress? Dawn, Mum says it's getting worse. Claire says, even though I travel all over the world by myself and have avoided some tricky situations due to being aware, I've been, oh, it's gone. I've been prevented from being harassed. Oh, it's hiding. It's hiding the comment. Yes, there you go. But it hasn't prevented me being harassed and scared. I once had to get off a train. Oh, that's awful. Charmaine says, change your route sometimes. Exactly, because you never know who's watching. Julie says, yeah, I worry about my son. He was mugged twice when he was younger. So going through all of these different safety precautions that we've done, and like you, Auntie Claire, I've travelled, I've driven many times by myself, up and down the country. I remember, like, even recently, or just before lockdown, Johnny says, learning self-defense like karate. Let me bring up your comment again, Johnny. Show the chat, yes. Like karate may be a practical protection, as attackers are cowards who don't expect to be attacked back. Exactly. Marcia says, let's bring up Marcia's comment. Same, and I always have one earphone in so that as well as listening, I can answer my phone without pulling out my mobile and make myself stand out. How many of you have pretended? I've pretended to be on the phone if I've been walking and there's a gentleman who's walking behind me or a bit too close. I've pretended. I went, yeah, all right, babe. Yeah, listen, I'm literally around the corner. Yeah, I'm turning the corner now. All right, see you in a second. Because you just don't know. So then I asked the question, why are we having to do all the work? Why are we having to do all the work in terms of doing all these things to protect ourselves? Julie says, yes, I've pretended to be on my phone. Why are we having to do all the work to protect ourselves when, okay, 90% of the time, tell me if I'm wrong, if I've got this wrong, that, you know, we're protecting ourselves from men, aren't we? You know, again, I want to say at this point, not all men, and I know there's a hashtag going out on social media at this point saying not all men, yes, but 90%, 95% of the attacks that are made on women, the harassment, all of that are coming from men. So we're not painting all men with the same brush, but the attacks, the harassment that we get, the people that put our safety at risk, 95% of the times are men. Okay, so we're talking about those kinds of men. So when Claire says, yes, going up to total strangers and pretending to know them to avoid sleazy stalkers. Ugh, yes, yes. Walk with your bleeper at all times, yes. And I'm going to come back to that, Mum. Thank you for reminding me. But, you know, why are we having to do all of the work? You know, it's, again, men are the perpetrators. Why are men not talking to other men? You know, I wonder if men were more accountable. Simon says, I think we should be talking to the men. They are the ones that have the problem. Exactly. You know, I wonder if men took on more accountability for us as their women, our safety, you know, if things would change, if that's the change that we need to see. You know, how many men, you know, I've heard other men using, you know, dodgy, or saying dodgy comments about women. You know, if you hear that in the workplace, are you that kind of man that ignores it? Are you the kind of man that laughs along, that encourages it? Are you the kind of man that would actually say something and say, hold on a minute, this isn't right? You know, that's what we need. We need more men being accountable to other men. Okay, we need you guys calling out bad behaviour. You know, how many of you men, if you see harassment going on, you see a man at work talking to a woman inappropriately or being in her space or leaning over her or touching her, how many of you would actually call it out? You know, how many men actually see another man using aggression against a woman or a child or a girl and would actually do something and say something and say, hold on, that's not okay, that's not right. Um, Again, how many men, I know what dudes are like. I've got my own young man in the house who I am grooming and teaching to be. I'm doing my best to teach to be respectful of women and women's boundaries, and understanding that no is a whole statement by itself. No doesn't need to be backed up by an explanation. No doesn't need to be followed up by an excuse. Like, no is just no, and that men need to understand that. Like, I don't need to back up no with anything else. No, that's it, and that's what I teach my son. If anyone says, any girl says no, that's it. Walk away, back up, get out of there. All right. Um, and as Marcia said, these are unfortunately a lot of misogynistic attitudes that we're having to deal with, that we're having to try to reprogram, that we're having to try and fight against, that we're having to try and navigate and avoid. And unfortunately, sometimes you can't avoid it. And you're living in fear in the workplace. You're living in fear walking home from work, day or night. You're living in fear. If you go out and you're wearing makeup. This is one of the things that I deal with personally, and this actually happened to me before lockdown, and it's happened to me so many times. Obviously, you guys know I'm a singer. I'm an artist. I do lots of concerts all over the country, all over the world. And sometimes when I've done a show and I might have finished at 10 o'clock, 10:30, and I've got off stage and I've greeted people and I've said hello, people that have come out to see me, and hi, thank you for coming, and yada, yada, yada. And, I get back to the dressing room and I think, you know what? Sometimes I take off my makeup there, but sometimes I'd rather just get in the car and get home. And it's happened where I've stopped off at a service station, and probably at this point now it's maybe midnight, 11:30, midnight, and I've got a full face of makeup, I've got on my eyelashes. So what, right? However, I might stop to get some petrol or go in to get a coffee and a bit of carrot cake probably. Go for a cup of tea and a snack or whatever. And it's happened so many times where a man's come up to me and go and actually thought, because I'm wearing my makeup, that I'm up for it, that I want the attention, that I'm looking for the attention. Some of the comments that have been said to me, absolutely disgusting, absolutely scary. When you're by yourself, you're traveling by yourself. But in a way, it's almost like, you can almost take it as part of the territory, and it shouldn't be. It's not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. There's a couple of comments that have come up that I've missed. Let's have a look. Sarah says, great show. Thank you, Sarah. Dawn says, be careful not to use when you're walking on the street. Johnny says, it seems to be lots of these bad guys have a sense of entitlement to the women they harass, but I don't understand why that sense of entitlement has developed, and it seems much more recent. So you think this is something that is really more recent? Sophie says, a very good question. Men need to be accountable to each other. Protecting women should be paramount. Dee Dee says she's blessed to have male friends to meet her in the evenings. Oh, where's it gone, Dee Dee? To keep her safe. Dawn says, we have to look out for ourselves in these times. Men don't respect women anymore. Do you guys agree with that? So true, Dawn. Julie agrees with you, Mum. Shaman says, you have to put up with nonsense. Marcia says, that makes me so mad. Scream. Do you know what? Sometimes as women, I wonder if we are becoming like desensitized to it, because it's like so normal. It's so normal for a man to say something about you, or as you're walking, looking at your bottom, or saying, you know, or do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, sometimes it's done and it's complimentary and it's nice and it's like, thank you. But sometimes it's done and it's suggestive, or some men who are actually just absolutely disrespectful. So, Johnny here, and Johnny, thank you for being so vocal as a man on this stream. You think that it seems like this is something that has become worse recently. This sort of sense of entitlement, as you've said, um, that some men have, um, an entitlement to the women they harass, but but you don't understand where this sense of entitlement has developed, and it seems to have developed much more recently. So, do you think that maybe? And I don't like to blame social media for everything, because social media is brilliant. Look how I'm talking to you tonight, right? But social media, do you think social media has a bearing on this? You know, when you see, you know, we all know on social media, you know, how sometimes women, we present ourselves, you know, are we doing ourselves a favour? Do you think that because there are, now let me be careful when I say this and I don't mean this to all women, but there seems to be, and this is something maybe, this is maybe a generational thing, but there seems to be this undercurrent now where women have this attitude of, as long as I'm beautiful, that's all I need to be as a woman to show up in the world, and the man will pay for this and pay for that, and he'll do this for me, and he'll provide for me, and he'll get me the latest handbags, and I'll be able to live, you know, live the life and live in my best life, and da 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 da. When did it become this like exchange of, you buy me the bag and have I got it wrong, ladies? Because I hope I have, but that seems to be what I'm seeing more, or that seems to be the tone of things that we're seeing on social media more. So then is it any wonder if that is the attitude and the behaviour, why men have this thing in their minds that we are things to be purchased, to be owned, because I bought you a handbag, or because I bought you a Nando's, you gotta now, like, you owe me. Please tell me, am I misreading that? But sometimes I get this impression from social media that our women think this is okay. Am I wrong? If I'm wrong, please help me. Help me. There's a few more comments up in here now. Oh, the comments are coming in. The comments are coming in now. So Kay says, believe it or not, more recently, working in nightclubs since 1981, and definitely it's not any better. There you go. That's Claire's opinion. And it says, hi, Michelle. Hi, Mary. Charmin says, look, I've had to put a few men in their place. Julie says, it's nice to be flattered, but in the right way. Johnny says, it's a vicious cycle. Sorry, Johnny, I'm just putting it up. I'm thinking men disrespect women, then women dislike men, so men dislike women more for disrespecting men. I'm learning a lot from this talk. Wow, that's interesting. I'm going to read that again, Johnny. So, Johnny saying it's a vicious cycle. I'm thinking men disrespect women, then women dislike men, so then men dislike women more for disrespecting men. So you're saying, okay, so a man disrespects a woman, and then women are like, we hate you, da 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 da. So then men then are like, whoa, you hate us, so we're going to be even more disrespectful. So you're saying it's a vicious cycle. That's interesting. If anybody agrees with Johnny, then please let me know. And it says, I think a lot has changed when women started being put on billboards, half-naked advertising things like cornflakes and motor cars. So we are seen as objects of lust, and respect has deceased. And that's a bit like prostitution, isn't it? You know what? Exactly. Because sometimes we're given this impression that for an exchange of something, you get me. Do you know what I mean? And that's dangerous. That's very dangerous. There's more comments here. Malik's in the building. Hey Mish, hope all's well. Just stopping by to say hey. Hi Malik, bless you my brother. I'd love to get your take on some of this if you don't mind. Johnny says, oh, I wish I could get a woman for the price of a Nando's. You don't want that one. The one that costs Nando's, you don't want. No, it's not good. It's not good. It's not good. And it's not good, again, that we're putting out this energy in the world that, you know, we're for sale for the price of a Nando's, whether it's a Nando's or a Louis Vuitton, it's the same principle, it's the same energy. So how can change happen, guys? This is the big question. How can change happen? Sharma says, I remember once a guy was trying to chat me up while I was talking to another male friend. He was very disrespectful and I stopped him conversation and told him, sorry Shaman, it fades out after a minute, and told him what for. He walked off embarrassed. And I think sometimes we do have to stand up and say, oh, hey. No, you don't get to speak to me like that. Change your tone or walk off. Because sometimes, you know what, sometimes the ignorance is so real that it can be dangerous for us as well, standing up for ourselves, even though we're right. I don't know if you guys saw recently, and again, I saw this on social media. This was a lady in the States. I think she was in Brooklyn, I think it was Brooklyn. And she'd just come home from work and she went into a convenience store and she was buying herself a bottle of wine. And she got to the counter and there was 3 guys. And they said, oh, hi, beautiful lady, yada, yada, yada. You know, I want to pay for your wine for you. And she said, well, you know what, thank you very much. I appreciate the offer, but no, thank you. And for some reason, these guys were completely offended by the fact that she wouldn't accept them paying for her wine. And so she got out of the store and was walking up the street and they went after her and they basically dragged her to the ground. They kicked her. The guy bit her in her face. So she's got stitches in her face where they bit her. And these guys were basically, they felt disrespected by her. And because they felt disrespected, or maybe they felt embarrassed because she didn't take the offer, they decided to literally kick this woman within an inch of her life. And again, you know, these are not rare things. These are not, you know, there are so many cases, there's so many incidences, there's so many things like this, and that don't make it onto social media because sometimes women think, well, what's the point? What's the point of me complaining about it? Who am I going to complain to? Okay, I'll call the police. How many times do women have to prove, you know, we have to prove that we've been abused, prove we've been harassed, prove that we've, you know, we're kind of like, not liars, but we're kind of like, we have to prove our, do you know what I mean? That this thing has happened. We have to prove it more than the person who's the perpetrator. Does that make sense? Let me get into some of these comments. Guys, thank you so much for your openness tonight and just being a part of this conversation because it's so important. Julie says, good on you, Charmaine. Dee Dee says, social media brings us into close contact with all types of people, including the reprobate mind. Predators have always existed. Our hearts need to be changed and renewed from the inside out. Mum says it shouldn't be that way at all. We are sensible adults. Malik says, in every man is the woman who bore him, who breastfed him, who nurtured him, and who protected him when he was helpless. All men should remember this and respect this. Thank you, Malik. Charmaine says, the male ego. Do you know what? I'm not being horrible, but sometimes the male ego seems to be the most fragile thing on the planet sometimes. Julie says that is absolutely awful. Um, let's just get into some of these comments. Annette says it's also how women are portrayed in the media, the music scene, the language used to describe us as women, and some women feel good portraying those images, following the Beyoncés and such like. Lorna says absolutely, Monique. Claire says to go to the police you need to be the perfect victim or they do nothing. Oh my gosh, that is so... I wish I had a button to press. like. Guys, I mean, thank you. Like, there's so much there, and I think so many of you are all right. You are all of the comments are absolutely right. So, guys, how does change happen? How does change happen? You know, one of the things I wrote down when I was just looking at, you know, ways that I think men, and I do think that a big part of change is men having to change their behaviour and being made accountable for their behaviour and their attitude towards women. And I think one, that starts with other men. So listen, family members, talk to your brother, talk to your nephew, talk to your son, talk to your cousin, talk to them and say, dude, that's not cool. That's not how you speak to your missus. That's not how you speak to your daughter. You know, you have to call out bad behaviour. You know, if you see somebody, a man being aggressive to another female, guys, we need you to call out. We need you to stand up for us. You know, we've as women, I feel like we've supported you, we've backed you, we've loved you, we've affirmed you, we've cooked, we've cleaned, we've done everything, you know, to support and build you up. And we need that. We need you to be our protection, to be our safety, you know, in the world. You know, men, if you see signs of abuse, you know, so many people, you know, we might see people in our church or people in our family and we can see things, something ain't right. You know, oh, I didn't like the way he spoke to her there, or, you know, sometimes we can just see the signs, little bits of aggression, or you might see evidence of, you know, bruises or scars or scratches, or, you know, sometimes you have to speak up. You have to say, hold on a minute, this, what's happening here? You know, so many women and a few friends of mine that I've had these conversations with, and I've spoken very openly before about the fact that I've gone through domestic violence. I'm not a victim, I'm a survivor. And many of you guys know I wrote a song about it, Priceless. You can check it out, it's on YouTube, yada yada. But, you know, one of the things that happens is, you know, perpetrators get you, they isolate you, okay? And so then you become less in communication with your family and your friends. And then you kind of, they become your whole kind of world. And I think one of the things for me, what was difficult was speaking out and speaking to someone about it, especially, you know, a male person in my family. I didn't want to cause a problem. I was embarrassed. I felt ashamed. I thought it was my fault. I was being told it was my fault, so I believed it was my fault. And so sometimes we need your help, you know. If you see something, you know, and sometimes we know, don't we? We can see the signs. Sometimes for those of us that have been through it, we recognize it, right? So sometimes we need you to show up for us and say, hey, bro, don't let me hear that you've done this again, or you're doing this, or da-da-da-da. Like, there needs to be some accountability. I think also we need to teach our boys, you know, how to have healthy relationships with females, with girls, you know, from school. You know, how to be gentlemen, how to speak to girls, and how to speak to the females in their family. And do you know what I mean? I think it starts from young, from down there. Let's get into some of the comments. Man. Sorry guys, I'm just going through I don't want to read some of the ones I've already read. So we've got Claire says, go to the police. You need to be the perfect victim or they do nothing. Marcy says, I've seen a few videos on social media of women at parties wearing body paint as an outfit, stimulating sex and calling it dancing, whilst the men at the same parties are fully clothed. Wayne, hi chick. First there's recognition of what needs to change within the man, and then action the change. Dawn, when we haven't got values and we don't live by values, we will display unacceptable behaviour. We need to change. Johnny says, change is needed from the government. The government has cracked down on hate crime but seems to turn a blind eye to aggression or hatred against women. Sophie says, spot on, Mish. Dawn says, some people need to have a new mindset. Charmin says, the law needs to be changed, but the hearts and minds of men need a bigger change. Julie says, so true, Johnny. Wayne says, with help and support, of course, but he must let go of his pride. Again, there's that pride, there's that ego coming up again. Sophie says, it's very true, Johnny. Marcia says, I agree about men and being aware of how they relate to women. Respect starts in the home, and I believe, and we as women need to carry ourselves with respect at all times also. Dee Dee says, correct, Charmaine. The answer is Jesus. He's the only one that has the power to change the hearts of men. Dawn says, men need to look at themselves and make a change. Lorna says, yes, the government needs to step up and start handling and dealing with this. Sarah says, yeah, definitely change comes from starting to inform our own boys, our own children in their generation to encourage this change for the future. And please, women, be aware of the narcissist. The narcissist is a whole nother Mish Power. We're going to do that one. And it says, great point, sis. Start teaching the boys from young, but they must have those positive examples around them. Yes. Brooke says, hi, sorry I'm late, but I made it. Just. Brooke says, me and Kelly Marie are watching. Welcome, Brooke. Julie says, hi, Brooke, how are you? Brooke is a loyal Mish Power Hour part of the family, and her baby, Brooke, and Kelly Marie is one of our Mish Power babies. It's a long story. But welcome, Brooke. Guys, thank you that these comments are absolutely on point. Malik says, the breakdown of family is a causal link to domestic violence. Society has been modelled on the individual, and this means everyone for themselves. This type of society lacks values like respect. Leon Brown says, pornography is a big part of the problem. I agree with you, and I'm particularly happy to hear from the men, because I think definitely societal values, and as you said, you know, there is a breakdown of family, men being at the head of the home, the woman, the children, and you know, again, that's broken down. And so I think there are so many effects of that breakdown that we're experiencing in the world. And this is why I say women's safety is a men's issue. It's a bit like, if I can use this example, matter, racism is not a black issue, it's a human issue. Black people, white people have to come together and support each other with this dialogue that it's a human issue. And so these women's issues that are happening, we need the men, especially because the men are the main perpetrators, to make this an issue. You guys have to make it an issue for you, for it to have a positive effect on ours, for there to be change. Somebody else, if you agree, throw some hands up in the air, put some thumbs in the air, let me know. If you don't agree, tell me, teach me, school me. This is what we're here to do tonight. Somebody has also said there needs to be change in law, judicial law. And this is one of the things that I think deep down in the conscience of some of these men that are perpetrators, that are rapists, that are sexual harassing young girls and are out here raping women and perpetrators that are violent, I believe that a lot of them know that there's no accountability. That, as we said, we read in the statistics, out of all the cases of rape that are reported, only 5% of those cases actually end up with conviction. So what message does that send to us as women? And what message does that send to you as men? Right? There has to be changes in the law. There has to be some kind of accountability. There has to be a system that lets men know, that sends a clear message that these things are not going to be tolerated. These things are going to be acted upon. There's going to be consequences, and I think that's a big part of the issue. There's no consequence. There's very little consequence. I heard somebody say on the news today, and obviously this whole thing with Sarah Everard has sparked off, has triggered a lot of these conversations. And just as an example of the lack of accountability, right? Somebody used this example that if somebody is a fly tipper, so we know fly tipping is when people put up posters in public places without permission. You see that, people put up posters about music coming out or a rave or something like that, right? The person, if somebody is convicted for fly tipping, they will get, if somebody is convicted for rape, the person who was convicted for rape will get less of a sentence than the person who's convicted for fly tipping. So you're saying, the message you're sending us, that your people damaging your walls, brick walls or public places, is more important than women being violated. That's the message that we're getting. So there has to be changes in the law. Guys, I'm going to have a quick swig of my mint tea. Thank you for those of you that are still joining on the live. Thank you for those of you that are commenting, and I really want to hear your opinion tonight, especially from the men, because men, I'm calling you out. I'm calling, and again, I love you. This is not a hate men campaign, nothing like that. I hope you guys know that we love you. We need you. We love you. We need you. We need you. Guys, we need you, man. We need you. You are so important. We need you guys, man. Let me get into some of these comments. Malik, yes, we've got that. Peter says, some of the problem that young men have to start at home when it comes to disrespect, it grows and it festers from there if their environment is continually negative. Positive, strong men can help fellow men. Yes! Dawn says, social media contributes to the men's problems as well. Lorna says, I have 2 boys which I've brought up on my own. I always taught them to respect and treat any woman with value, and to remember they have a mother and they wouldn't want anyone to disrespect her. Marcia is clapping and saying Lorna is raising kings. Yes. And can I give a special shout out to all the ladies that are raising kings by themselves? And we're not raising male females, we're doing our best to raise kings. And so I just want to shout out to you ladies, and all the ladies that are in the building that are mothers. Happy Mother's Day to you all. Annette says, love that, Lorna, well done. Lorna says, thank you, Marcia. Malik says, fly posting. Thank you, Malik. Marcia says, that's right, there is a really bad subliminal message. Dee Dee says, fallen people, fallen world, we are all culpable in different ways regarding how we have interpreted what we have grown up watching and experiencing as young men and women. Johnny says, thanks for hosting this talk, Michelle, and viewers. It is really interesting, thought-provoking and helpful. I hope you guys have enjoyed the conversation tonight. It has not only just provoked us to the point of, but we're understanding more about each other and how to respect. And I think that comes from us being able to relate in a loving way how we need to be honoured and respected. So want to really thank the men who are on this chat. Malik says, what about the single fathers like me? I raised 5 kids on my own. I taught them all respect. Can we give some love to Malik? Come on, we don't get that enough. We don't shout out enough. The single men that are raising men, that are raising kings, that are raising queens. We love you, we need you, we thank you. And I want to say to all of the men that are on here that are fathers, we thank you. EL says, yes, Michelle, men are the issue. Sexism is the argument. Great show. We got Julie is sending up some applause in the building. Dawn is saying, well done, Malik. Marcia is saying, Malik. And this is the thing, ladies. As much as we can go, listen, yeah, we need this and we need that. We need respect and we need you to honour us. And you know something, we also need to say to our men, thank you. Thank you for being present. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for being a positive role model to my son. Thank you for being there for us. Thank you for talking positivity into me and not talking me down. Thank you for not being abusive. Thank you for being a positive energy in my life. We need to show that love as well, because you know what? They need that. And I think sometimes we have to let men know how important they are to us, because sometimes as independent women, we can get very, I don't need a man, and da da da. And now here we are saying, men, we need you. So we got to let our men know how important they are. And guys, you know, we need you guys to be the change that we need. As we said, you know, let me just read out some of the things that women are doing on a daily basis. You know, we're putting the keys in between our fingers. We're walking with the pen like this in case somebody comes out and jumps at the bushes with us. You know, we're walking in the middle of the road. We're avoiding entrances to alleyways. We're making sure our phone's on. We're walking with our headphones out. We're crossing the road. We're checking over our shoulders. We're taking the longer route home. We're trying to go home and on the better lit route. We're dressing appropriately. You know, some of us, you know, the women, out of fear, you know, we don't even want to wear high heels on the way home. You don't feel safe. You don't feel safe, you know, the sound of the heels, or in case you need to run or you need to kick somebody. You know, and it sometimes it feels like we're doing all of the work, and it's not us that are causing the issue. I'm going to read a couple of the final comments before we close. Yes, we got love in the building for Malik, and Malika said thank you, sisters. Lorna says, to all the lovely beautiful queens here today, happy Mother's Day to you all, raising kings and queens. Leon says, Malik is my guy. More love in the room for Malik. Dawn says, well done, Mish, great show, very positive. Malik says, each one teach one. Our job as men is to protect our sisters. Leon says, great convo, Mish. I think you nailed it. Oh, your comment is fading, but I'm going to get it. I think you nailed it right here, though. We love you massively, but we're confused. Don't know if you want to be independent women or if you want protection. Dawn says, amen. Julie says, thanks, Miss. Such a good conversation. Do you know what it is, Leon? Independence is important for us because for so long we've had to fight to be heard, we've had to fight to be seen. But just because we want independence, just because we want to earn our own money, just because we want to be able to speak for ourselves, just because we want to be able to have our own business, doesn't mean that we don't want you by our side, doesn't mean that we don't want your love, it doesn't mean we don't want your respect, doesn't mean that we don't want your presence. Sometimes it doesn't mean that we don't want your guidance. Sometimes it's like, sometimes we got our kids and, you know, they're riding the bike and we're standing behind them and we're there just in case. But at some point, you know, you've got to let go of, you know, and let them ride independently. It doesn't make you less of dad. It just means I got this. When I don't have it, when I need support, we want to know that you've got our back. But sometimes, you know, we want to be able to stand up and say, you know what, babes, I got this. I got you. So it's not that we don't need you. It's that we're also trying to be, and we're becoming and evolving into the best version of ourselves, and we just need you to support that. And when we need you, when we need a cuddle, cuddle. And you know, still bring the flowers, still bring the chocolates. But does that make sense? You know, we want your support, but we just don't want to be always steered, or because steering has turned into bullying and has turned into, we're not allowed to think for ourselves and we're not allowed to be. Do you see what I mean? So guys, this has been really precious tonight, and I think, Leon, we're going to have this conversation. But guys, honestly, like, it touches my heart to hear the comments. And I'm going to read, there's a couple here just in answer to Leon, so I just want to quickly read them. Someone said both, Leon. So, because Leon asked, don't know if you want to be independent woman or if you want protection. Charmin says, we want both. Dawn says, we're not confused. Julie said, we would like both. Dawn says, we are independent until the man put a ring on our finger. Hey! But Malik says, you were born to do this to me. You definitely need your own TV show. Guys, come on, let's make it happen. As long as you guys will be part of my panel and I call on you guys. So listen, thank you guys so much for being here with me tonight. I know you could have been doing so many other things. You could have been watching the news and watching a great series on Netflix. So I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate your input. I really appreciate the conversation, because it's conversations like this that help us to grow, right? Help us to be. Someone's put me for Prime Minister. Nah, you're taking it too far now. Just buy my album, yeah? But guys, thank you for tonight. I love you all. Respect you all. Be safe out there, men and women. Be safe. And let's just look after each other. Let's love each other. So listen, this has been Mish Power Hour, where we turn the pain into power. Love and power to you all. Have an amazing week. And I'll see you guys next week. Good night, guys. Thank you, everybody. Good night.